Let's see. I think we are live. We are live. Hi, my name is Tyriece Simon.
Elijah Jones.
This is MMA Renegade episode 32, covering UFC Fight Night, Fight Island 5.
Fight Island 5.
Elijah, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. It's a nice Sunday. Air's a little crisp. I'm not going front. It's getting a little chilly these days here in New York, but
Absolutely.
I can't complain. I am doing fine. I had a little bit of a headache, but it's going away. I'm trying to drink water, stay hydrated. How are you, my man?
I'm doing good, man. Drinking my orange juice, trying to stay healthy, taking vitamin D, do whenever I can to not get sick.
There
Because
you
that
go,
would suck.
bruh. It's the season, right? Because
Yeah.
if you think about it, 3 weeks ago it was hot. 3 weeks ago it was hot, and now
Yep.
it's instant shift. This is the time where people get cold. A lot's going on in New York City, where we're having increased cases of the COVID.
Yep.
So a lot. This is what we were talking about. In the summer, where we're talking about it's possible that there could be a second uprising or a second influx
Wave.
of wave. Sorry, yeah, of people getting COVID. So hopefully, I hope everyone stays safe, and I hope everyone's been watching our channel and being all right. So yeah.
Do what you can to keep yourself safe. Wear a mask if you need to.
Always wear a mask.
Social distance.
Stay home. Stay home. Ain't nothing to do. Stay home.
If you can, man. Listen, especially in New York. New York pretty much is like a shut down for the most part.
Yeah.
Or it's about to get shut down again. So
well, the chances are it will.
Yeah. So do what you can to stay home, keep yourself safe, and let's get out of 2020.
There we go.
But man, while we're still in 2020, we had a great night of fights yesterday.
I mean, again, shouts out to UFC. During this time, UFC has been able to do something that not many other sports can do. Well, many other sports are team-based. UFC's isn't. And UFC has been able to get away with having to be able to put on fights, especially during the time of COVID. With the introduction of Yas Island as the place to have fights, we now see an uprising and roar, and I guess a continuation of the greatness that UFC has been experiencing all of 2019. And with 2020 being the way it was, we didn't know how UFC was going to handle this. We didn't know how Dana White was going to get UFC back on the map. But they've been very successful, in my opinion. And last night proved again, it just showed why the UFC and MMA is continuing to grow the best way it has been over the last few weeks. I mean, over the last couple months.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like right now, like the viewership and the attention towards MMA and UFC in general has been booming. Like a lot of people are really paying attention, and like a lot of celebrities you see are talking about UFC and athletes talking
endorsing.
About UFC.
Yeah, I feel like at this point in time, especially with Yas Island opening up across seas and whatnot, being able to reach those international audiences and be able to reach those people over there on the other side of the world has been very influential in in the popularity that UFC is having at this current moment.
One of the coolest things I've seen, like to me, is somebody like Teddy Atlas, who is usually a boxing guy, or
he's a
boxing guy.
He's a boxing legend.
Right, and now him paying attention to UFC and MMA, and he's teaching Francis Ngannou things, and he's pointing out and doing live commentary for UFC fights like the Israel Adesanya and Kevin Gastelum fight.
Yeah.
He did live commentary, which was interesting, and he's talking about MMA like more than ever before, and I just find that so fascinating and encouraging to see. That it seems like the sport during this pandemic is growing.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think Joe Rogan and a few other people said it best. UFC is one of the fastest growing sports in the world, right? When you look at what's going on in UFC, there's always an evolution almost every 5 to 7 years, right? You see evolution in not only the game, but the fight IQ of the strikers, the way fighters are approaching the game, right? We see this big evolution from the one night tourney where we were crowning the heavyweight champion of the world. You know what I mean? You're fighting 3 to 4 fights in one night. Now you got guys who are doing training camps. You got guys who have strength and conditioning coaches. You got guys who have dietitians helping them out, right? You have these large institutes like the Performance Institute actually, to take care and cater to the fighters to contribute to the growth of their sport, right? Because there's no UFC without fighters. That's impossible. Right. So you just the growth, and then you see people like Teddy Atlas. You see people You see a lot of those trainers getting it more involved, who are outside, who are striking. You know, they good with striking. They know other things outside of UFC, but now they're getting more attention to UFC. So I think it's great. I mean, we've been fans since 2011, 2012.
Something like that. It also shout out to Bellator too. Bellator is doing well right now. Won championships since they get going. I think they kind of
They
got
just
slowed down
started
a
back.
little bit. Yeah,
They just started back.
I think
Yeah,
they
that
were
was
trying to
pretty
do something.
impressive.
They were trying to do something in 2020, do something big, and they kind of got slowed down with the pandemic.
Yeah,
Horizon, like there's a bunch of organizations that are LFA. Like there's a bunch of organizations that are really doing well, and I hope to see the growth of MMA, the sport itself,
as a whole.
Grow in 2021. You know.
It will. Again, it will. It's just getting too big to be contained and confined, in my opinion. So I'm
Yeah.
excited to see where it goes. But last
Mhm.
night, Tyreece, last night on October 11th in the Abu Dhabi United Arab Emirates, UFC brought to us another exciting fight card. UFC Fight Night Moraes versus Sandhagen.
Mhm.
UFC Fight Night 180, if most people would know that as, or UFC Fight Island 5, where we got Cory Sandhagen versus Marlon Magic Moraes. Last
Mhm.
night, not only did we get some spectacular finishes, but we have one in particular that seemed to stun not only the regular MMA fans, but celebrities around the world. We're talking this has made it to multiple social media platforms like Shade Room, things like World Star, things like that.
Yep.
I mean, and I missed it. I missed it actually. I went downstairs to go get food for me and my mom because we ordered takeout. And I come back to my brother texting me like, "Yo, did you just see that?" I'm like, "I don't know what
Yeah.
you're talking about." Then Tyreece calls me, "Yo, did you see this?" I'm like, "Tyreece, Errol just said this. You gotta speed it up for me. Let me know what's going on here." And last night after I watched it, I couldn't believe what I saw. Joaquin Buckley fought Impa Kasagane, two gentlemen who are known at who were fighting at middleweight, were put on, what was an interesting display. Of course, many of you may know, Joaquin Buckley defeated Kasagane by knockout.
Sure did.
And this is what will most likely be a top 4, maybe top 3 candidate of the year for knockout of the year. Joaquin Buckley entered the fight, in my opinion, as the shorter guy who had a little bit more much to prove because he's recently coming off a knockout to your boy Tyreece. So
Kevin
what's his name?
Holland.
Kevin
Kevin
Holland.
Holland.
Kevin
Yep.
Holland's been in an upsurge at the middleweight competition. I know Buckley stepped in short notice to fight Kevin Holland, and that fight came to fruition with a knockout of Buckley, I believe, in round 2. Impressive finish for Kevin Holland, but Buckley proved that he has a lot of skills and a lot of tools in his bag. As being the smaller fighter, he came in pushing the pace, pushing forward, landing some crazy hooks, but precise boxing. We're not talking throwing out here. This man's calculated, moving, slip, being the smaller fighter at 185. And Kasagane, he faced a lot of trouble early in this fight, but heading into the second round, Joaquin Buckley started throwing these head kicks just to gauge the distance. You see him throwing head kick. So he threw 2 just to see what it was at. So he throws 1 more. Kasagane ends up properly blocking, proper technique, catches the head kick here, right? He
Right.
tries to scoop the leg under. Now, I believe it was the left leg that went up. Left leg goes up. Kasagane catches it with the perfect technique, tries to scoop it over. And what Buckley does next is impressive at 185 and a man of that much muscle. He ends up hitting a Taekwondo spinning kick, knocking Kasagane out. And I mean, out of all the knockouts I've seen in UFC, Tyreece, that may be top 3, in my opinion. You don't see counters like that in UFC. You just don't see them landed as fluidly, as perfect, as crisp. You don't see that. Now, that's not to say people can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen those type of kicks thrown before. Those type of kicks do land, but not in this spectacular fashion. With the range and the up closeness and just the timing, the spatial awareness of what happened, I'm impressed by Joaquin Buckley.
Yeah, honestly, I think that may be the best knockout of the year in the UFC. In the UFC, I can't really speak to anywhere other organizations. I know that there's been phenomenal knockouts in other
Outside,
organizations as well.
yeah,
Yeah, a lot of regional organizations they've been having some phenomenal knockouts.
they
But in
don't
the
get
UFC, UFC, this is the best knockout of the year. Maybe I'd argue probably top 3 knockouts of all time in the UFC. Maybe
it
number
just
one.
it just You see videos like that in Taekwondo tournaments, right? You see the guy with the typical Wonder Boy stance where you slanted to the side like this, in and out, popping in and out, right? The lead leg is the bait. The lead leg, kind of comes up chambers, kind of gauges the distance, right? Taps you like a jab, and then you usually see them switch. Pow, you see them switch, put the weight down on that leg, pivot, and then come up with a spinning kick, maybe a hook kick or just a spinning kick in general. But Joaquin Buckley's knockout of Kasagane was just impressive. And it's interesting because he's the smaller fighter, and you would think that these are pretty big boys, right? We're talking 185. They both were obviously, they were very big. They're very muscular for their frame. But Buckley was moving as if he was a welterweight. And that's what impressed me about that fight.
Yeah, again, there's something I would think you would see more from a lightweight or a featherweight or a bantamweight, that being able to pull that off. Yeah. Or somebody that has like a Steve Wonderboy Thompson who has that in his repertoire. I would not have expected that from Buckley, but he showed us all wrong, and he showed that he is an exciting fighter and that he's going to be around the UFC for a while. He had the fight against Kevin Holland, which didn't end up his way. I think it was short notice as well.
It was short notice.
It was short notice, so maybe that wasn't the best fight for him to take, especially against Kevin Holland, who is on a surge right now, who I think is the most improved fighter of the year. But I think him knocking out help me out here. What's his name?
Kasagane,
sorry. Kasagane, and that going viral and everybody's talking about. I have people that don't watch UFC at all text me and say, "Hey, did you see that knockout? That knockout was crazy." Like when you have that kind of response, that tells you, okay, you made a very big impact and impression in your career.
I think what we've been seeing, right? And correct me if I'm wrong. I think because UFC is the apex in terms of MMA organizations. I think taking a fight short notice, a lot of people do it. This has been nothing new that we haven't seen, right? I think that when you take a short notice fight, like Joaquin did against Kevin Holland, I think in the event that you do get hurt, in the event that you get knocked out, I think being able to take that fight on short notice kind of puts your name in the door. I don't think it's the best thing all the time, right? But I think that's we've been seeing a lot of people, a lot more people coming in on short notice to fight people, and that's just given the times of COVID. People get sick, things like that. In my opinion, I just see a trend of a lot more people coming in short notice than way before, and that's just given the times again. But Joaquin Buckley, I mean, I'm excited for what he'll bring to the 185 division. I think he is a force. I didn't see that coming from him, in my opinion. I thought his hands were good, but goddamn, the man can kick too. The man can kick.
Yeah, I thought he was doing good. He had great boxing before. I thought some of those shots were power shots where I thought could have knocked out Kasagane before that kick even happened.
Yeah,
he's stocky, but he comes up like that. Kind of. You remind me kind of like a Mike Tyson-esque approach of how he moves around.
Because his hands are tight to his face. He's looking to go left, right, but through slips. He's not coming. He's not just bobbing. He's slip. And he's staying tight. And the pocket is his. To be honest with you, being the shorter fighter, when he gets in the pocket, it's just he'll have much more success. He utilizes that well to push forward, and that's what I'm impressed about his game.
Yeah, so I'm happy for him. Kasagane is still young in his career. He's gonna improve. He's gonna get better. But I'm happy for Buckley and excited to see where these two athletes go next.
Agreed.
But the big news of this fight card is the main event.
Cory Sandhagen defeated Marlon Moraes in round 2. It's by TKO. Now, Tyreece, what did you think? And watching this fight, what did you think about this? Well, sorry, before going into this fight, let me turn my TV because I'm getting distracted by a sci-fi movie. Total Recall.
The original or the remake?
the remake, but there's a part, there's a part where you go like apparently I remember the original was really good with Schwarzenegger. I mean, you watch it now, it's kind of terrible, but it's good. It's like one of those movies like, wow, this is actually pretty interesting that they came up with this concept. And in the Colin Farrell one, what happens is they're going between the planet of Mars. So like they start to switch. It just was like interesting that they switched the side. It was weird. It was really weird. But it caught my attention. I'm not gonna lie to you. I like both. I like both, but and rewatching it, it's one of those cult classics that's like, whoa, like wow, like Little Trouble in Big Tokyo. Sorry, Big Trouble in Little Tokyo.
Never seen it.
Oh man, Kurt Russell, phenomenal. It's so cheesy that I think you may love it. Like that's another cult classic.
You know what's a good one that I've gone back and watched? Demolition Man. Demolition Man is actually a really good movie.
Jean-Claude, no, not Jean-Claude Van Damme. Sorry, Sylvester Stallone and Wesley. Put those two together, I'm okay. Yo, a lot of people need to stop fronting on Wesley like Blade wasn't one of the best movies of our childhood.
Wesley Snipes made that movie. Like if Wesley Snipes in that movie, I don't think it would have been as fun. Like Wesley Snipes being an absolute asshole throughout the whole entire thing.
Someone told me they didn't watch Blade. And I was like, how could you, like, what did you do as a child? Like, Blade was one of those original Marvel movies. It's like, yo, come on. Anywho, that was a good side note. I'm glad we both geek about movies. But yes, Cory Sandhagen. Before this fight, Tyreece, what were your parallels and who were you going to lean towards? Because we talked about it, of course, but the people don't know what we talk about when we talk about it. So what were you thinking going into this fight?
I was leaning more towards Cory Sandhagen,
which we agreed.
And the reason why was just I didn't know what Marlon Moraes could do past. The question was for Marlon Moraes is good in that first round.
Yeah.
But how would he do, round 2, round 3, round 4, round 5, right?
Yeah.
And then I also thought about, the length of Cory Sandhagen. I thought it was going to give Marlon Moraes a little bit of problems, and that could, in his grappling too, could extend the round a little bit longer, in which, maybe second or third round or fourth round, Marlon Moraes starts to fade and Cory Sandhagen just takes over and gets a decision.
Yeah.
However, I did not see a knockout.
I thought that, and we talked about this before. We both leaned towards Sandhagen, right? And we talked about being a 5'11" at 135 is a very big advantage. Although you're just not as muscular as other guys, but 5'11" and being able to utilize the range, which Cory Sandhagen has been able to show, right? The stance switching, which for me was a big thing, going from southpaw to orthodox, being able to cut those angles, that was a big factor. And then just the overall being able to go I think he was able to go. He's more ready to go the 5 rounds than Marlon, so that's why I gave slight edge to Sandhagen. Now, I thought he would get the finish, but I thought it would be later.
Really? I thought it
was going to be later. And the reason why is because I know Marlon in the first round is truly magic, right? That man has been able to put on an impressive amount of first round finishes in the UFC. An impressive amount at 135. And in it was a World Series of Fighting. Yeah, he was a champ there too. He was impressive, right? But I wanted to know whether or not Cory Sandhagen was going to be a slow starting in the first round, or if he was going to be on. Because if Cory Sandhagen is on, he's one of the most impressive fighters, right? We look back at the Aljamain Sterling fight. I don't think he was mentally there. There was something about that fight that he just wasn't there, and I think Aljamain was able to expose that. Aljamain proved that his grappling was obviously better. He was able to catch the timing and caught him, right? But when you look at the fights before that, first round, when he was fought Yuri Alcantara, the first round, Yuri clipped him too. And it seemed like there was, until he finally woke up, it seemed like there was a bit of like a whoa, like just like he was just kind of present. He wasn't actually there. But when Cory Sandhagen is on, like he proved last night, that man can do damage. And the spinning heel kick, that I never saw coming. And it's interesting because the heel didn't land, actually. If you watch the replay of the fight, the heel really doesn't land. What actually ends up landing is like that kind of Achilles tendon, almost lower, I want to say calf area. That's what ends up hitting him. But the force and the momentum generated from pivoting, from the pivot to the hips to the full extension of the leg, that's a lot of momentum that honestly could knock anyone out, really, right? So that's what was the more impressive part about that finish. And
it's kind of like Fabricio Verdum and Mark Hunt, where like it was a spinning heel kick, but
Junior Dos Santos.
Junior Dos Santos, yes. Junior Dos
Junior
Santos
Dos
versus Mark
Santos.
Hunt.
That's
Yeah.
when Mark Hunt was on his. That was when he was on his title shit. And
Yeah.
shout out to Mark Hunt, one of the best to ever do it in UFC at heavyweight, one of the best knockout artists of all time. But yes, that you're right. That's a very good point, Tyreece.
Yeah. Well, it didn't necessarily land, but the momentum of it, just glancing the top of the forehead or the side of the head was just enough to knock you off balance, and that was it.
In my opinion, I kind of equate it to like if someone was to like maybe like I don't know, like if you feel it's like you don't feel the full force of it, but because there's enough power generated,
Right.
it's still just the sheer power generated alone is enough. And I'm not saying that Cory Sandhagen, he's throwing an anvil at the guy, but this is another big thing. It's technique. That is the biggest thing here, and he threw that perfect. In my opinion, he threw it perfectly.
Yeah, I think.
Good.
No, I'm sorry.
No. That's where I am.
I was gonna say I think with Marlon Moraes, I think the first round he was still trying to figure out the timing and because Cory Sandhagen was switching a lot in the first round.
Hard. It's hard to do a guy who constantly a guy who is one thing for a guy to stand switch. It's another thing for a guy to be able to fight comfortably in both stances.
Yeah,
that's a big factor.
I feel like Marlon Moraes is trying to figure it out. He got the takedown at the end of it. Second round, Cory Sandhagen says that he broke his orbital. I don't know. I don't think he broke his orbital. I don't think so. It didn't look like it, but I guess it was just enough to throw him off, and then he threw the spinning head kick that knocked him out. Now we get to the part where we talk about who's next to fight Peter Yan for the bantamweight title.
You want to hear something funny, Tyreece? As soon as you just mentioned that people are texting you about that knockout, my boy just texted me and was like, "Yo, did you see this last night?"
Yeah, yeah.
Joaquin Buckley, man, shout out to you because me and Tyreece may not be big in the MMA world yet, but you heard it here. It just was like, wow, just wow. Yeah. But back to the bantamweight title picture. I think it's interesting, right? And you brought, I'm gonna let you speak soon, but it's interesting that with this win, with the loss to Aljamain Sterling by impressive, rear naked choke.
Yep.
And then now a finish over the number one person in the division. It leaves UFC in a state where not only do they not have a bantamweight fight booked before the end of the year, they also now have a guy who beat their number one fighter, but the guy who just beat the number one fighter is now lost to the guy who's technically supposed to fight for the belt soon. So what's going on in your head if you're UFC, or what do you think is going to be the next move for UFC in terms of the bantamweight picture? Title picture, sorry.
Okay, so you mean what I want and what the UFC is going to do?
Actually, let me clarify. Let me make that statement more easier because that was like three questions in one, in my opinion.
No, it's fine.
What is next for Cory Sandhagen? We'll start there.
What is next for Cory Sandhagen? I would think the next thing for Cory Sandhagen would be a fight against a Frankie Edgar or that's where it gets tough, right? I think a Frankie Edgar fight makes sense.
Yeah.
In the sense of Cory Sandhagen just be the number one guy. So, I mean, really, technically, he should be the second to next person in line for a title shot. But in a time of just getting a fight and keeping his name relevant, a fight against Frankie Edgar, who is a little bit older, is a veteran, is a name. That's a fight that makes sense. If Frankie Edgar wins, he could possibly fight for a title in another division again.
Yeah.
Cory Sandhagen beat Frankie Edgar. He has Frankie Edgar's name under his resume. That could give him even more momentum going into his next fight for a title shot. So there's that. Dominic Cruz. If Dominic Cruz wants to return, that could be a fight.
It's a solid if, but I agree. I think that would be a very good matchup in terms of styles.
I believe they were supposed to fight before, right?
I believe it was touted, but it was one of those things that never, you know how UFC is. Yeah. It's always a rumor, but it never really comes to fruition. So
and then the Dominic Cruz ended up fighting Henry Cejudo, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you can also do that fight as well. Again, legends that Cory Sandhagen can face that could give Cory Sandhagen the next level to fight for a title and have more of name recognition. Other than what they've got now.
If I'm UFC, I generally like your idea of Frankie Edgar, right? I'm gonna pick three routes because I've been thinking about this ever since you called me the other day. I'm gonna go route one, Frankie Edgar. right? I think
Yep.
Frankie Edgar is someone who obviously has a lot of name value, being a former is it 2-time champion in lightweight, or is it one? Because I know he ended up being Gray Maynard for the belt.
Yep.
He beat Gray Maynard for the belt. Sorry, then he lost it to Benson Henderson. He never got it back. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So he's a former lightweight champion. UFC loves the guy. The people love the guy. You know, he's a true fighter's fighter, right? Like he has all the attributes. He's a wrestler. He goes to wars. He's had great wars with people, right? So I think Frankie Edgar, and that's a plus for Frankie Edgar, because if he beats Cory Sandhagen, then his name is right there at the top to challenge for the belt again, like you mentioned.
Yep.
So that ends up doing two things: fighting if Cory Sandhagen fights Frankie Edgar, that either boosts Cory Sandhagen to be the next guy, or boosts Frankie Edgar to put him back in the title picture and get more money, because Frankie Edgar, as we know, is quite the draw. Frankie Edgar's a draw. We can agree on that. The second option would be fight a legend like Jose Aldo. I like the Jose Aldo fight, and that's because he beat Jose Aldo fought Marlon Moraes earlier this year, correct? Or was it at the end of last year? And everyone believes, I rewatched the fight, everyone believes that Jose Aldo was beating him because Marlon Moraes was running away. I think this is a fight for Aldo to stay in the title contention at 135. That's possible. I think it's possible for him, he lost to Petr Yan, but Petr Yan, but he can, you never know. A rematch could go differently. And then the third option would be if my boy TJ Dillashaw comes back.
That'd be a good fight.
And that would be that. Now, out of all those, I know, yeah, the TJ Dillashaw fight would be my best one. And I bring up TJ Dillashaw because his suspension is ending soon. It's been 2 years. He's been healing from some nagging injuries that he's taken care of. He's been active on social media. I follow him obviously on IG. There's one time I commented on his picture and he commented back. I have a picture of it. I can send it to anybody who verifies. When he commented back, I was like, this is a great day. I showed my brother. He was upset because he used to message Tyron Woodley, and Tyron Woodley back. Huh?
Damn near creamed the fence, huh?
I'm not gonna lie to you, man. You ever see the load? Then it'd be like the load button. Pow!
Oh god!
Pow! TJ Dillashaw is the guy, man. He's like, in my opinion, he's the best 135er out there, and I don't think Henry Cejudo can beat him at 135, but definitely can beat him at 125. He's just too sunken up. But yeah, that would be my three best scenarios for Cory Sandhagen.
Send your comments to @Elijah Jones, please. Send all your hate comments to @Elijah Jones.
Huh? You sure?
Send all your hate comments to @Elijah Jones. He said that, not me. But I do agree with you. Those are three good fights. I would probably swap out the Jose Aldo fight for TJ Dillashaw. That's probably what I'll do.
Well, I gave three scenarios. I gave three possible scenarios.
Sorry. Talk about the Jose Aldo fight for Dominic Cruz, because I don't know where Jose Aldo goes from here.
That would be a good fight for TJ if he came back.
That would be a good fight. But I don't know what Jose will do, especially losing to Petr Yan. So we'll remain to see. But now we got Cory Sandhagen. We got three possible fights for him. Now let's get to who's going to fight for the bantamweight title. Who we think?
Oh, wait. Before, let's just do real quick. Marlon Moraes, who do you think he gets?
I honestly don't know. You could swap out the guys that we just talked about for Cory Sandhagen and say the same thing for Marlon Moraes.
In my opinion, I would love to see Marlon Moraes fight a guy like Dominic Cruz, Rob Font, Cody, those lower weighted guys. Let's get him back. Let's get him hungry. Let's see anyone in the lower 10, anyone past 6. I would like to see. But
I don't think we get Marlon Moraes fighting anybody past 6.
Yeah,
because just because of where he's at now, he probably slides down. Maybe number 4.
I see Pedro
right now. Marlon Moraes is number 1. He's probably going to move down to number 3 or 4. Cory Sandhagen is probably going to move to number 2. Aljamain Sterling is probably going to move to number 1.
Aljamain Sterling definitely number 1.
Yeah. So I mean, and then Cody Garbrandt is rumored to go back down to flyweight or go down to flyweight for his next fight.
Yeah,
So
well,
he may
he's
not be
injured. He's actually injured, but he's definitely supposed to. Well, he's supposed to fight for that flyweight belt eventually.
Yes. I mean, we can't even put Cody Garbrandt into the equation right now.
Yeah.
5 is Frankie Edgar, Pedro Munoz is 6, Jose Aldo is 7. I mean, Jose Aldo already fought Marlon Moraes. I thought Jose Aldo won that fight.
A lot of people did.
Yeah.
I think the Pedro Munoz fights make sense.
Yeah, I think Pedro Munoz can make sense. You could also do a Dominic Cruz, like we said before. You could also do a, some maybe you throw TJ Dillashaw.
It's possible.
You go TJ Dillashaw. However, I don't think TJ Dillashaw fights any. I don't think he fights Cory Sandhagen. I don't think they fight Marlon Moraes either.
Yeah.
In my brain right now, I can easily see TJ Dillashaw fighting Peter Yan
right away.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I drew a blank there because I'm trying to just figure it out in my mind, just thinking about it. But yeah, I can honestly see the UFC waiting out for TJ Dillashaw just so we can put that fight on. For me, I don't understand why the Aljo fight has not come together. That's the perfect fight to make.
Yeah,
that's the one. I think everybody wants too.
Yeah, it's the fight. I mean, here's the thing, right? His suspension was active in 2019, March of 2019, I believe, and then it should be done in January. And in my opinion, by that time we could. The issue is we should have a title defense for the bantamweight before the end of the year, but I could see something in early February as the date.
We have November pay-per-view that needs a main event. We have December. We have two pay-per-views in December, I believe, too.
Yep.
So I mean, if the UFC wants to, and I hope they do, give Aljo the title shot. So we're just think of it this way: if you give TJ Dillashaw the title fight, let's say hypothetically they're waiting for TJ Dillashaw. If you give TJ Dillashaw the title fight, not only does that hurt the bantamweight division, that sends a bad message that you're allowing somebody that tested positive for
advanced
substance to get another shot at the title.
Yeah.
You're also bypassing a guy that is rightfully the number one contender and has been the number one contender for some time now.
Agreed. The only other person, I mean, some people may make the argument that John Jones, right after coming back, fought for the belt. John Jones didn't test positive. He tested positive for a banned substance, but not a performance-enhancing drug. I believe when he came back and fought OSP, he had tested positive. Was it positive for cocaine or something like that? It was one of those things. Or when he came back, a lot of people may make the argument that John Jones shouldn't have, been given the title. I should say, there's going to be fans who I know are going to be like, well, John Jones did it. It's a very different situation compared to the TJ. TJ Dillashaw, he's one of my favorite guys. He is without doubt my top 5 fighters of all time. But he did admit to take an EPO, and it is what it is. With his suspension being up in January, if they are truly waiting for him, I think also the issue may be is that if he suddenly does get an injury, not only do they miss out on all this time, now it's also like, well, now we just have to make a fight last minute. So I think that's going to be a bigger issue if they do wait. But I would love to see TJ versus Peter Yan. I think TJ has that fight.
I know you do. I think I would want TJ Dillashaw versus Cory Sandhagen. We're talking about once. I would want TJ Dillashaw versus Cory Sandhagen. What I think is possible, let's be realistic here, I can see the UFC moving away from Aljamain Sterling to give it to TJ Dillashaw. I can see that because TJ Dillashaw is a bigger name.
Yep.
He is somebody that is controversial right now.
And he hasn't lost. He hasn't lost at bantamweight.
He has, but he
hasn't lost the title. He lost the title, but he got it back. He got it back.
He was stripped of the title. He was stripped.
But he wasn't. But he didn't lose the title. He was stripped by title because
he was stripped for performance-enhancing drugs.
Listen to what I'm saying. He didn't lose. He didn't get to defend the title because he was stripped from taking. He lost to also. He also lost to.
Yes, he lost the innings, and he popped the EPO. So I can see them giving to somebody like TJ Dillashaw. I can see them giving Frankie Edgar another shot eventually down the line, just because of the name of who TJ Dillashaw is. But Aljamain Sterling deserves a title shot, and he should get a title shot. And I say, give him a title shot.
We all say give Aljamain Sterling a title shot. Most of us will argue that Aljamain Sterling the fight should have been booked by now, in my opinion.
Before Cory Sandhagen.
Yeah, before the Cory Sandhagen fight. I'll say this. I don't disagree with your statement, but the Cory Sandhagen fight to me also solidified this is the man. This is the man that needs to be. And I'm not discrediting your argument saying because I've been a fan of Aljo for as long as I can remember. As long as I remember seeing him in the UFC. We've talked about this. We both mentioned him before on many cards. I've always been a fan. I was like, he's gonna fight for the belt. The thing is, getting to the belt for some reason isn't just happening for him. Like it's not matriculating, and we don't know why. But that Cory Sandhagen fight also cemented that this is the guy. This is the guy to fight for the belt.
Yeah, he won 4 in a row after losing to Marlon Moraes, that knockout. He beat Brett Johns. He beat Cody Stamann. He beat Jimmy Rivera. He beat Pedro Munoz. After the Pedro Munoz fight, I thought, okay, he could be the next guy. Because at that time, Peter Yan has yet to fight somebody that was like really, really entrenched in that division. Like he fought Uriah Faber, but like Uriah Faber wasn't really somebody that's been like that's rising in the division.
Faber came out of retirement to fight.
Yeah.
Which is it's fine. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But he came out of retirement. I think, in my opinion, the amount of people that Peter Yan finished was impressive, right? Like he's beating guys like Jose Aldo, he's beating Uriah Faber, he's beating Jimmy Rivera, John Dodson. He's beating a lot of those guys who are legends in 135. But in terms of fighting the up and coming bantamweights, that's where it's kind of lacking for me. And that's why I thought Aljamain Sterling, who has gone through the cream of the crop at the top of bantamweight, is someone that he should have been someone who should have been fighting for the belt. That makes the most sense. If you're beating the top guys, you only lost to Marlon Moraes, who fought for the belt and lost. Technically, and if you're going by ladder of Mortal Kombat, you knock the next guy, off the top. You are there. Let's be honest. That is. I mean, we've all played Mortal Kombat. We know how this goes, right? Like, come on, like that is exactly what happens. If you're moving up a ladder, you beat a guy, you go to the next guy. So if the champion beat a guy, the next guy below him should be the person up next, which is Aljamain Sterling.
I love your references, man.
Hey, man.
But yeah, I want Aljamain Sterling. I think Aljamain deserves it. But let's prepare ourselves to not be surprised if TJ Dillashaw gets the next title shot.
Let's be prepared in general to not be surprised if Aljamain Sterling gets snubbed.
Yes,
that's it.
Was there any other fights on this card that amazed you besides the Joaquin Buckley fight? The Cory Sandhagen impressive win. Was there anything else on this card that surprised you or impressed you?
Let me go back and look at the fight card. If you want to talk, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so my three. One, Edson Barboza beating Marquand Amirkhani.
Marquand Amirkhani. That is probably the best to date you've ever said a name.
I know. I'm getting better. I thought that was a great performance for Edson Barboza, something that he really needed. He's been on a 3-fight losing streak, I believe. Yeah. 3-fight losing streak. To Danny Ige fight, I thought Danny Ige probably lost that fight.
By split. Danny Ige lost that by split, in my opinion, but it is what it is. It was a close fight.
But Edson Barboza lost a fight. He lost to Paul Felder. He lost to Justin Gaethje. So him beating Marquand Amirkhani, I think that was a confidence booster. I think that's something for him to kind of get his feet going in the featherweight division. And again, he's somebody that can be dangerous. If you can't, my thing is, if you cannot take him down and you're forced to stand with Edson Barboza, he can give you problems.
Again, another reference. You ever seen Three Ninjas, the movie?
No.
Okay, so in Three Ninjas, there's this training dummy. There's this training dummy. This is how I know I'm older than you. in Three Ninjas, there's this training dummy that the grandpa's training the three kids on, right?
Right.
He's like, yeah, like boom, like hit this dummy. And like every time that you hit the dummy in a vital spot, it lights up. So that's what I think about anytime you fight Edson and you can't take him down. It's like now it's gonna get to a point where he lights you up. Like,
Right.
I mean, the impressive part was the right straight, right? And when they broke it down in the fight, he dropped him twice, I think, in the third round with the right straight. What was impressive about it? Okay, what was impressive about it was his hip went first,
Right.
right? Instead of throwing your hand out like this, his hip, it's very subtle. It's his hip goes and pow. And it's just like, wow, he's leading at the same time with his hip. And I'm like, you don't see punches like that coming. And he knocked him down. So I'm like, wow. Like Edson's striking is elite. Now,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. One thing missing was the leg kicks.
Yeah, that's another thing. But I thought the first round he was kind of getting his feet wet. I think the first round they were both kind of worried. You know, Edson Barbosa was worried about the grappling of
Marquani.
Marquani. Marquani was worried about the striking of Edson Barbosa, so they was trying to fill each other out. And then it was the second round and third round where it really picked up.
Yeah, it canceled out because if he threw the leg kick, it was going to be caught. All fronts, you know. Marquand, he likes Marquand. He likes to be aggressive with his grappling, as we've seen when we saw him fight Shane Burgos in New York. Very aggressive. He can get the takedown. That's not the issue. The issue is him if he gets takedowns too many. You know, if he pushes too much, he gets burnt out. So, but yeah, it was a great fight. I was impressed by Edson Barbosa. That's right. You know, someone who actually impressed me in this fight.
Sure.
What's his name? Where's he at? Tom Breese.
Yes.
Tom Breese is a fighter that we talk about a lot. Tom Breese was a former welterweight, and I mean, I don't know how he made the weight. I don't. I really don't know how he made that weight. It's kind of crazy because he's such a big guy. He's a guy who's a lot bigger than I thought he was. He was coming off a loss to Brendan Allen, and the issue in the Brendan Allen fight was that he was kind of winning on the feet, but would result to taking Brendan Allen down, and Brendan Allen would either scramble or reverse and get into dominant positions, and that's why he ended up losing. Brendan Allen is someone who has he has decent wrestling, he has good hands, a great jab, and he's strong. I think at middleweight he's finally finding a home, and it proved that he has his fight IQ. To back him up. He beat KB Bullard by TKO, but I mean, there was either was a hook or a cross that just hit him, and you saw the spit fly, and it was like, whoa, like that had power on it.
Yeah, and I also think it's just the time away. Like this Brendan Allen fight was his first fight back in over 2 years or so.
Yeah.
So that was the first fight back, and Brendan Allen's somebody that we both see as somebody that's going to rise in that division. So
Brendan Allen's going to be an issue for a lot of people.
Maybe not the best fight to come back to in your first fight in 2 years, but he definitely shook off that ring rust and was able to put it on display in this fight. Yeah. I'm happy to see him kind of get back to his winning ways. I'm happy to see him, hopefully take the next step in the middleweight division. He's somebody that was looked at as someone that's very promising in the UFC, and he took some time off, and now hopefully we get to see him continue his career. For me, another one was Giga Chikadze. Chikadze, again, 2 for 2. Again, he's somebody this year I think is really a rising star in the featherweight division, where he is 1, 2, 3, 4 fights. 4 fights. No, 3 fights this year. He fought last year, 2019, which I thought was impressive against Brendan Davis. But he fought 3 fights this year. In every fight, he's getting better and better. Apparently he was training at Mike Tyson's training camp or training ranch, which is why he was so aggressive in this fight. It paid off in later rounds where he was able to drop Omar Morales, I believe his name is.
Yeah. Omar. It's interesting because Omar Morales, he's been he was a undefeated fighter, I think. Coming into the fight, no? Omar Morales, he was undefeated. I remember him beating Gabriel Benitez, and he was so stupid. Omar Morales is really a lightweight.
Yes, it was his first loss.
Omar Morales, in my opinion, would be an impressive lightweight because he's so big for 145. He makes the weight well, of course, but in my opinion, I think he should bump up. But no, Giga Chikadze, his game plan and his IQ alone. is what I think propelled him in that fight, because there were a lot of instances where it kind of seemed like a stalemate. Not a stalemate, sorry, but it seemed like he was waiting for Omar Morales to bite, and Omar Morales was just like, I'm not biting. So he's like, nah, I got to push. And so that was the impressive part, because he seems to be more of a counter striker, in my opinion, no?
Who?
Chikazi.
Yeah, saying Giga to me sometimes about nothing.
Right.
But I don't think he's a counter striker per se. I think he's just really calculated in his approach. But I think with him, I would love to see him fight somebody in the top 15. I think it's time. I think he can do. I think it's a good test.
With 4 wins in UFC, 2 by split, 1 and 2 by unanimous, you think it's time to get a top 15 opponent?
I think so. I think his potential seems unlimited to me. Like he seems like he's somebody that can really do work in the featherweight division. I can't really think of anybody else in the featherweight division right now outside of it that I've been impressed with that much. So maybe Yusuf Zalal before he lost his fight, which I think Yusuf Zalal can get back to it. But I think Jakarta kind of takes that next leap, and I think he's somebody that can face somebody in the top 15. Maybe a Ryan Hall, because nobody's been able to fight Ryan Hall. Maybe Bryce Mitchell.
Oh, Bryce Mitchell's entangled with a fight with Andre Fili, so that's not going to happen.
Is that happening?
A bottle of Casamigos. Let me just move that. Andre Fili has a fight coming up. I follow Bryce Mitchell. That man, they better get him. Look, they better get him some camo shorts. They better get him some They better get that boy some camo. That boy is dangerous. That boy is dangerous.
I'm willing to bet they don't give him camo shorts in the next fight.
I got 5. I don't think it's the next fight, but I think it's within the next.
Eventually down the line, I think he'll get the camo shorts.
He may get it this fight. You never know.
Who knows? I would love to see him fight somebody in the top 15. Maybe Ryan Hall. Maybe the winner of that fight between Bryce Mitchell and Andre Fili. Maybe you do him versus Sadiq Youssef if he gets healthy. Like, I think Shane Burgos. Like, I like his style, and I think his style is really exciting. I think he's somebody that could bring a lot to that featherweight division, especially if he continues to get better.
Being a former kickboxer coming to MMA, I'm impressed by his adaptation. I will say that. I'm very impressed by his adaptation to mixed martial arts, because it's not a singular, it's not just striking. It's everything. And he shows to have he just has great IQ in terms of fighting. So I'm impressed.
Yes. That was pretty much it for me.
Same.
Was there anybody else? That was for me.
That's pretty much it. There was a heavyweight. There's a heavyweight fight. Huh?
Tom Espinal?
Espinal was good, but the guy he fought, mark my words, the guy he fought is going to be an issue for a lot of people, because he reminds me. I think so. What was good about that fight is because that was also another short notice fight, right? What was good about that fight was he was throwing Espinal off. And if you look at it, he was landing some very interesting, weird shots, right? Spinning back fist.
Upward elbow.
Yeah. The upper elbow was kind of he got hurt, and so tried to do it, and that just was like a bad timing. But leading up to those little exchanges, Espinal was getting tagged. If you look at it closely, Espinal was getting hit. And then, what's his name? Badeau?
Yes.
Badeau has hands. And Badeau trains in I think in France or something like that. They were saying. I was listening to commentary, but in France they said France has a lot of big guys like Cyril Gane, a lot of those guys. So he's a heavyweight that, even though he just lost on short notice, watch him get a fight, and I promise you he'll be impressive. I'm going to say that, because he also ended up hitting Espinal with knees. And I was like, whoa, even while hurt, I was like, I'm impressed. Espinal caught him with a clinch, but he was hitting Espinal with knees, even though he was clinched. So that's what impressed me, but who knows? Yeah,
there's 2 more now that I think about it. I can't pronounce his first name. I'm gonna try. Eli Tupora.
Oh yeah, that was a
very good fight.
He stopped.
Very good fight.
I don't think Yusuf. I just was bringing this. Yusuf Salal's his name doesn't lose a lot of stock, but the Ilya Topuria. I mean, good God, I did not see that coming. I didn't see it coming.
He is really good.
Yeah, he's going to be an issue. He's a little bit on the smaller side, but I'm very interested to see how he overcomes that, because he went against a guy who was a little bit lanky like Yusuf Zalal. And Yusuf Zalal, in my opinion, probably could be a 135er if he really wanted to. But at 145, he's healthy. He's lean. He's able to slide. Got good boxing and grappling. Ilya Taporia is going to be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be he pushes forward, throws leg kicks, does the grab. If he can just push a little more cardio and last a little bit longer, but grappling is a lot. He was grappling Zalal and taking Zalal to places he ain't never been before.
Yeah.
If he even gets a smidge of more cardio, this man's going to be in the top 15 soon. Just a smidge. He doesn't need a lot of cardio. Doesn't need a lot.
I love the scrambles. I love his continuous attempts to try to get a submission. Like I absolutely loved his performance. And Yusuf Zalal is still going to be somebody I'm looking out for. He's somebody that I think has potential in the division.
He's a character in my opinion. I think he has great charisma.
Tempora, he really showed out in this fight. And lastly, another one for me. Let me make sure I get his name right. Dricus du Plessis.
Yeah.
Dricus du Plessis defeated Marcus Perez. It was interesting, right? Because Marcus Perez was so aggressive in the fight.
Yeah.
I thought Marcus Perez looked good. And then it was just du Plessis was able to catch him with kind of like a weird angle where he was able to land the hook.
The hook, yeah.
It was like that.
Caught him on the side of the head.
Caught him on the side, and then you just seen Perez like he was out of it, and then du Plessis went for the kill and was able to get a finish. I thought that was if the Buckley knockout wasn't on the same card.
Yeah,
I thought that probably would have been knockout of the night. Just because I thought the angle where he was able to land that hook was so impressive. I thought that could have been knockout of the night. But unfortunately, Buckley was on the same card, and he happened to have the greatest knockout in the UFC history. So
what did Kanye say? 50 G's, baby, 50 G's. Get that man the money.
Should have been 200. Should have been 200.
Yeah, it was bad. But overall, I thought this was a pretty interesting fight. This is again one of those cards that, in my opinion, I think the main event was amazing, and we knew that there's going to be energy from that. But it's one of those cards where you don't expect the lower, not the lower people, sorry, but like the undercard and the people under them to be as impressive in terms of performance.
Hidden gems, sir. Hidden gems.
Yeah. So for me, I would give this card a B+.
I'm right with you. I think it stands at a B+. I think there are a lot of fights. There's some fights on this card I want to go back and watch. The Tom Espinal fight you brought up, I didn't recognize that at first. So I'm gonna go back and watch that.
Call me when you do, because that dude either he's gonna be an issue for a lot of people, or if he doesn't, he's gonna be an issue for people in general. He has to grow though as a person, because throwing that elbow when the guy came in was just like that unorthodox.
It kind of missed off the side.
Yeah. It just just circle out, shoot for a takedown. Maybe, who knows? I don't know. Right. But that just I wouldn't. It is what it is.
The Tempora Zalal fight was an impressive fight. I love fights like that. The Buckley fight, the Buckley knockout, that alone is amazing. To have all of that on his card and to have these other fighters, Chikati, which I talked about, these are fighters going to look out for in the future. These are impressive moments that may look back on and say, okay, I remember that fight, and that was where they transcended. So for me, it's a B+ card, man.
B+ card. I agree.
Yeah. So we have gone over 50 minutes talking about UFC Fight Island 5. I am about to go watch some football because it is Sunday. You know what that means?
I don't, because I don't watch football, but I'm not gonna play Call of Duty.
Well, Raiders Nation.
Oh, I'll be watching the Lakers versus Heat tonight. That I will be.
I will watch that too.
I'm gonna watch that tonight. I do want LeBron to win. I think he's without a doubt the greatest athlete on the planet right now. And he's an inspiration. So I'll be. That's the one sport besides UFC I'll watch. I'll say that.
Okay,
that's the one sport I'll watch.
Yeah, you learn something every day. Elijah watches basketball. Who would have thought it?
Not me. All right, man.
For the future viewers, we appreciate you. For the subscribers, we appreciate you as well. If you subscribe, please leave a like. Tell us what you think of the show. Tell us what you think of UFC Fight Island 5. Hit that notification. You never know when we'll go live and do a show. And we'll be back next Sunday to discuss Brian Ortega versus Korean Zombie, or Lomachenko versus Lopez. The big boxing fight.
Someone said both of them.
Dude, I may just do full boxing next week. Who knows? It is looking good, man.
But it's crazy because the Ortega fight has a lot of good fights. You have Brian Ortega. You have Cyril Gane on that fight. That's your boy. You have Kagan versus Andrade. You have Almeida, who's coming back at featherweight, which is interesting because Almeida was a big force until Cody Garbrandt beat him at bantamweight. And then you have James Krause picking up a fight short notice, I believe, at welterweight. So I mean, who knows? And you have Nurmagomedov's brother Said coming in.
I know they're all great. Those are some great fights. I get all that. But Lomachenko versus Lopez is happening next week, sir.
That's gonna be a good fight. That's gonna be a good fight.
Oh my God, I cannot wait for that fight. So,
that's the fight to make. I agree. That's the fight to make.
We will see you guys next Sunday. We appreciate you. We love you. Stay safe. Until next time, my name is Tyriece Simon.
Elijah Jones.
This is MMA Renegade. Have a